Some stories are too strange to be real. They stick with you, weaving themselves into your thoughts until you can't tell fact from fiction. The videos you're about to see are tales so disturbing they might just keep you awake tonight.
She seemed like an innocent old lady, but she was hiding a terrible secret. In the late 1800s, Summer Camp, a highly respected woman in the community, owned a massive plant shop in Tampa, Florida. She became known as the Plant Lady and often gave guided tours to those interested in her collection. The biggest attraction in the shop was her legendary Venus flytrap, a carnivorous plant that astonishingly measured over 30 feet tall. Whenever people asked how she managed to grow it so large, she would answer with an enigmatic smile, "Lots of protein." In 1895, a man named Wally Martin scheduled a private tour with Summer. During the visit, he mysteriously fainted, and when he regained consciousness, he realized the horrifying truth. He was trapped inside the mouth of that monstrous plant. By some miracle, he managed to escape, survived a fall of over 30 feet, and ran frantically for help. That very night, the police raided Summer's shop, and surprisingly, she confessed without resistance. She had done the same thing to at least 25 other people who hadn't been as lucky as Wally. Outraged, the community quickly took action. Just days later, they set the shop on fire, destroying the enormous carnivorous plant inside. Summer was sentenced to life in prison at Alcatraz, becoming the only woman to ever serve time in the infamous facility. But her story didn't end there. Months after her imprisonment, on a stormy night, Summer managed to climb to the roof of the penitentiary with an improvised glider. She attempted to escape and was never seen again.
The legend of the Plant Lady of Tampa sounds like something out of a horror movie. They say she fed her victims to a giant Venus flytrap and escaped from Alcatraz. Is this a tale meant to shock, or a piece of true crime history the world has forgotten?
This is the most dangerous book in the world. Its origins trace back to the 8th century, a cursed text that became the most feared manuscript in history, the infamous Azif. Said to contain the darkest secrets of ancient black magic, it was believed to be the key to controlling a powerful entity trapped within our reality, the book of life and death itself. Many sought to unlock its secrets until one fateful night when Hassan and Eva performed a ritual described within its pages. Witnesses claimed they heard incomprehensible voices, something no human could understand. The next morning, Hassan had vanished without a trace. All that remained was his diary, filled with frantic scribbles. The last entry read, "If someone finds this, remember the truth. The book is not just a guide, it's a trap. And now, I'm trapped too. But what do you think? Could you resist the temptation to open it? Or would curiosity trap you too? Let me know in the comments and share this with someone who loves dark mysteries."
A book of black magic so powerful, it's said to contain the darkest secrets of the occult. They call it Al-Azif. Is it just a fictional grimoire, or does a book like this exist somewhere in the world, waiting to be found?
In 1972, in the quiet town of Goobsville, Ohio, a woman named Anita Mayan lived in an old farmhouse with her 2 children. To the outside world, she seemed like a struggling single mother, quiet, withdrawn, and doing her best to raise Lila and Dookie alone. But behind closed doors, Anita was drowning in debt. Desperate for a way out, she made a horrific decision. She turned to the black market organ trade. Over time, her children began falling mysteriously ill. Doctors couldn't explain it. Then one by one, they vanished. Anita calmly told neighbors they'd gone to live with distant relatives. No one questioned her. That is, until Anita suddenly became wealthy overnight. New furniture, flashy jewelry, even a brand new car. The town started whispering. 6 months later, the truth surfaced. A man was arrested and confessed to buying the organs of Anita's children. When police confronted her, she didn't deny it. She only said, "My children gave their lives so I could finally live mine." Anita was sentenced to just 2 years in prison.
A single mother facing a grim reality. This is a tale of a monstrous act driven by desperation. But the details of this story are so specific, it makes you wonder if it's more than just a cautionary tale. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
She is the only living witness to the crucifixion, and she's in prison. Boston, 1920. A woman entered a church dressed in clothes from another era. Around her neck, she wore an ancient glass reliquary, pressed tightly against her chest as if it were part of her. She said her name was Eleanor. It was the same name as a woman portrayed in a 1420 painting, with a face identical to hers. That same face had also been carved into a Roman stone from the 1st century. Always the same face, always the same expression. Studies revealed something even more unsettling. Her blood wouldn't clot. Her genetic sequence was unique, untraceable in any known database. Some researchers began to ask, could this be the blood of Christ? Days later, she was quietly transferred to an institution in Rome, under orders from a high-ranking Vatican official. Weeks later, the building mysteriously burned to the ground. No survivors, no explanation. Her name? Eleanor de Saporicio. Secret records speak of an ageless woman, always seen before massive earthquakes, always alone, always carrying the reliquary. They say the vial still exists, that under the moonlight it shines like the sun, but no one knows where she is now, or what exactly began on that hill where the miracle started.
A woman who was at the crucifixion, still alive centuries later. The story says the Vatican tried to bury this truth, a truth that would change history forever. Is it possible that she is still out there somewhere? If you find these stories creepy, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel.
This is the only proof we have of time travel, and it's absolutely terrifying. In 1923, archaeologists discovered a sealed tomb in Egypt. Inside, they found something that defied all logic, a photograph dated 1987. In it, a man in modern clothing stood in front of the tomb holding a camera. That man was later identified as Elon Hawk, a scientist who went missing in 1987 while working on a top-secret government project called Kronos. The project's goal was to unlock time travel. However, it was abruptly shut down after Hawk's disappearance without a trace. But the most chilling part was the message scribbled on the back of the photo. I tried to stop it, but the loop is inevitable. Years later, in 1980, another photograph appeared. This time it showed Elon Hawk, now much older, standing in front of the same tomb. The date, 2025. Experts were stunned. How could one man appear in 3 different timelines? And what did he mean by, the loop is inevitable? The final clue was found in Hawk's 1987 lab notes. He wrote, time is not linear, it's a loop, and I'm trapped in it. But here's the final twist. In 2020, a team of researchers decided to reopen the tomb. Inside, they found a camera, the same one from the photographs. When they developed the film, they saw an image of themselves inside the tomb, date stamped 2045.
In 1923, an archaeologist opened a tomb to find a modern photograph inside. Could it be a prank or a genuine piece of evidence for time travel? The past is full of secrets, but sometimes the future leaves a few behind.
This is the dark origin story behind Hello Kitty, and it's more terrifying than you think. In the 1950s, a woman named Akiko lived in a quiet village in Japan with her 6-year-old daughter Hannah, who was dying from a mysterious illness that no doctor could explain. Akiko was desperate. She refused to give up. One stormy night, someone knocked on the door. When she opened it, an old woman stood in the rain. Her wide eyes and wrinkled face looked almost inhuman. With a chilling voice, she whispered, I know your daughter is dying. I can save her. Terrified but desperate, Akiko let her in. The old woman placed a small bag on the table and pulled out a strange doll, pale and eerie, with a cat-like face and human body. Its skin was aged like that of an old man. The woman began whispering to the doll. Suddenly, the room filled with whispers, and Hannah started breathing normally again. She was healing. Akiko broke down in tears, overwhelmed with relief. But then the old woman said, I saved her, but at a price. Her soul now belongs to him. That very night, both Akiko and the old woman vanished without a trace. Years later, Hannah grew up and created Hello Kitty, a pale, mouthless cat, exactly like the doll that saved her life.
They say the adorable Hello Kitty character has a dark origin. A mother made a deal with the devil to save her dying child, and the proof of her pact was sealed in a doll. Is this a twisted urban legend or a chilling story behind a global brand?
They called her the perfect wife, but she was pure evil. In 1953, in the quiet town of Boomersville, Florida, Anita Deck was the picture of perfection. Beautiful, kind, always smiling. Everyone adored her. But Anita had a horrifying secret. 6 of her ex-husbands had vanished, and no one ever questioned why. Then one night, her new husband Frank noticed something strange at dinner. Anita barely ate. She just stirred her food with a fake smile. Suspicious, Frank found her secret journal, and what he read was worse than anything he imagined. Anita didn't just get rid of her husbands. She served them to her guests during her famous dinner parties. Frank panicked. He tried to run, but it was too late. That same night, the doorbell rang. Guests were arriving. Anita greeted them with her usual warm smile. When they sat at the table, she leaned in and whispered to Frank, "Don't worry, sweetheart. You're next." Terrified, Frank locked himself in the bathroom, then escaped straight to the police station. When officers arrived at Anita's home, it was completely empty. But in the basement, they found something far worse than anyone expected.
America's Deadliest Wife. A gruesome tale of a woman who fed her husband to dinner guests. The story is so shocking it's hard to believe it's real, but history is full of unimaginable horror.
One of the most chilling unsolved school mysteries in U.S. history. It was 1963 at St. Benson's High School. The day started like any other. A normal history class in room 303. Halfway through the lesson, the teacher, Mr. Walker, stepped out for just a moment. When he came back, every single student was gone. The classroom was untouched, desks in place, backpacks still hanging on chairs. Police were called immediately. Some believed the kids had run away. Others feared something worse. But there were no signs of struggle, and all windows were locked from the inside. Days later, the school janitor, Frank, reported something strange. In the basement, he found a stack of ancient textbooks crumbling with age. They were identical to the ones used by the missing class, but these books were from 1913. Inside the covers were names, the exact names of the students who had vanished. Next to each one, a word was faintly written in pencil: returned. School officials dug into archived records. Shockingly, in 1913, a group of 30 students also vanished from that same classroom. They were never seen again. So what really happened in room 303? Did those students travel through time? Were they pulled back or forward? And where are they now?
An entire class vanishes without a trace. When authorities finally entered the school, they found something that changed everything. Did the students travel through time? Were they pulled into the past or the future? The truth remains a mystery.
This is the only confirmed case of reincarnation in human history, and it's deeply disturbing. In 1939, in the quiet town of Goobersville, Indiana, a young couple welcomed their daughter, Mary. At first, Mary seemed like any other child, until she began speaking strange words that no one could understand. Her parents thought it was just baby talk, until they realized she was speaking fluent Chinese. The family was stunned. They had no ties to China, no exposure to the language at all. Desperate for answers, they consulted language experts. What they found was even more shocking. Mary wasn't just speaking Chinese. She was using ancient phrases that no modern child should know. As she grew older, her behavior became more unsettling. One day, she pointed to an old map and said, "Take me here." It was a remote village in rural China. Desperate, her parents agreed. They traveled across the world. As their train passed through the countryside, Mary suddenly shouted, "Stop!" She led them to an old farmhouse, ran to the front door, and began knocking wildly. An elderly man opened it. Without hesitation, Mary walked inside. She removed a brick from the wall and pulled out a dusty, worn-out doll. Clutching it tightly, she turned to the old man and whispered, "Don't you remember me? This was mine." The room fell silent, and what Mary said next left everyone frozen in fear.
A child remembers a past life and even speaks a language they were never taught. A small piece of evidence that suggests the soul lives on. The true horror is in the unexplained details, the things they know they have no business knowing.
You've heard the story of Beauty and the Beast, but the real version is much darker than you think. In 1863, in a quiet little village called Egwisheim in the Alsace region, lived Isabelle Dubois, a stunning young woman known to everyone as Beauty. Charming and graceful, she turned heads wherever she went. But behind that sweet smile hid a powerful hunger, not for love, but for status, wealth, and control. Gaston, a strong and devoted man, fell head over heels for her, but his love wasn't enough. Gaston was poor, and Beauty had no interest in a modest life. She left him without a second thought. That's when she heard of Victor Beaumont, a wealthy, reclusive old man. The villagers called him the Beast, not just because of his tired looks, but for the eerie energy he carried. He owned vast lands and a massive fortune. To Beauty, he was the answer. She made her way to his secluded mansion deep in the woods, and with her soft voice and disarming charm, she won Victor over. Soon they were married, and Beauty became the sole heir to his fortune. Meanwhile, Gaston was consumed with jealousy. He couldn't stand the thought of her being with another man. Fueled by rage, he spread the rumor. "She's being held prisoner. We have to rescue her." And before long, he led an angry mob, armed with torches and weapons. One night, they stormed Victor's estate. Gaston climbed the grand staircase, confronted Victor, and killed him on the spot. With the beast gone, Beauty inherited everything. She was finally free, rich, powerful, and untouchable. Months later, the village bells rang once more. Beauty had married her first love, Gaston.
The story of Beauty and the Beast is a beloved fairy tale, but this version reveals a darker side of human nature. A beautiful woman, driven by a quest for power and fame, abandons a loving man for a rich one. This chilling tale exposes a truth far more twisted than a simple curse.
In 1945, in a quiet little town in Kentucky, a 22-year-old woman named Evelyn Carter lived a simple life with her parents. She was known for her beauty, kindness, and deep religious faith. Her family was strict, and Evelyn had never even been alone with a man. But one night, after an ordinary day, she went to bed, and by morning, her life had changed forever. When she woke up, her belly was swollen, as if she was 6 months pregnant. She screamed. Her parents rushed in and froze in horror. Just one day before, she had been completely normal. At first, they suspected some hidden shame, but when they looked into her eyes, they knew she was telling the truth. Word spread quickly, and soon the town doctor arrived. He examined her and confirmed she was pregnant. But how? That night, 2 men from the Vatican arrived, accompanied by silent priests. They told her parents, "If she stays here, she will die. The church is the only place that can help her." Terrified, they agreed. Evelyn was taken away. 3 days later, she returned. Her belly was flat, her body normal, but something about her had changed. Her memory was hazy. She only recalled entering a massive cathedral and lying on a bed surrounded by silent priests. The town whispered. Some believed she had carried the devil's child. Others said the baby was half angel, half human. Years later, Evelyn's memory returned, and she finally remembered what they did to the baby the moment it was born, and it was pure horror.
In 1945, a woman wakes up 6 months pregnant overnight. The Vatican's reaction was swift and silent. This is a story so bizarre, it's been buried for decades. But is it just a tall tale or a cover-up for something truly supernatural? The stories you just heard exist in the dark corners of the digital world. You are not alone in hearing them. If these videos have left their mark, subscribe to see what we find next. Thank you for watching, and until next time.